welcome everybody to our panel about gaming, Web3, and collectibles. I have two, in my opinion, gaming legends, gaming pros here on stage with me. Alvaro, who is one of the pioneers in esports and actually want to start with enter the world of competitions. And Idan, who in 2019, you just told me, founded one of the first virtual worlds based on blockchain technology. Now, I'm going to, and myself, I'm Alex Ahrens, as you can see here. So, Alvaro, you started in 2017, as I just said, in the Web2 world. You did a lot of successful tournaments. And then in 2020, your company acquired Meta Worlds, and which is actually a blockchain gaming company. And from the acquisition of Meta Worlds, there was the, you gave birth to chili cheese games. And by the way, I always love the reference to cheese, team queso and cheese. So tell us a little bit about why you did that transition and what was your motivator to go from Web 2 to Web 3?
Sure. So thank you, everybody. Just a little bit of context so that you understand the transition. I started about 10 years ago uploading videos to YouTube. Right now, my channel has over 5 million subscribers in Spanish. And it's one of the biggest YouTube channels for Spanish-speaking markets, specialized on mobile gaming. And 6 years ago, I decided to start my esport team. It's called Team Queso. The cheese reference is just because I'm a fanatic
cheese
of Pulp Fiction. Yeah, I'm cheese lover, but I'm also, I like Pulp Fiction, so it's just because of that scene. So, I mean, fun story. Esports, it's just competing in video games, and it's a really difficult and challenging industry. So from the very beginning, we had in mind that we needed to diversify and to find different ways to monetize our audience or to engage with our fans and our audience. And we decided that one of the best ways to do so is to develop for them the best mobile gaming experience, so that the best way to develop the best experience is to do it by yourself. So it was not exactly an acquisition, it was more like a partnership or a joint venture, where a studio just came in and say, hey, you know what, you know a lot about content creation, you know a lot about mobile gaming, and you know a lot about competition, so we do know about programming and about developing, so let's build together the best mobile game and the best mobile gaming experience. So that's how Chili Cheese Games was born. It's the new studio. We are completely open since day one to blockchain and to the new world, if we can find a way to add value to our players via Web3. So that's the story.
Super cool, very interesting. Now, Idan, to you, you just told me in front of the stage I should be more challenging with my questions. So, Upland is actually a virtual world which replicates the real world, meaning that in Upland I can basically find every street that you have in the real world.
I would say it maps to the real world, doesn't necessarily replicate it. We like to joke and say it's a fork of the real world.
Okay, but since you started this, first of all, maybe very quickly about what inspired you to do that with your co-founder, and then, as you want me to be challenging, what was like the biggest ups and downs, especially since the beginning of the journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think what inspired us was actually the game of Monopoly, and you know, who has played Monopoly as a person? Everybody has. And but taking a step back, we kind of like started this journey around late 2017, 2018. And this was just when NFT became a technology. It came out. And when we looked at that technology, it's not intuitive to understand how it works, but once you get it, you pretty much understand that the future of digital economies is forever changed. Because the hypothesis, and we still maintain that hypothesis, is that every digital asset that anybody cares about in this world on a long enough trajectory will become either an NFT or some kind of evolution or permutation of that technology. Why? Because the value proposition of true ownership is better than fake ownership or non-ownership.
Absolutely.
And that's basically the inspiration. And for us, kind of like we envision that world that maps to the real world with an open economy based on true ownership. And our main focus was to try to deliver that value proposition to as many mass consumers as possible in the world.
But what were your biggest challenges?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the first, in the early days, we've been at it for 5 years now, so it's pretty long while. The first challenges was actually coming up with a technology to make Web3 accessible, and not just kind of like easy to onboard, but we also wanted to be on the app stores, and we're on the app stores since 2020. How to create regulatory compliance. I mean, we are a US company. We're in the US, we sell to US customers and not just worldwide. And we wanted to provide an easy way for people to enjoy true ownership, but also be able to, let's say, go in with fiat, but also go out with fiat. And that's not trivial. So the first challenges were about putting the technology in place, creating that ecosystem that could onboard mass consumer audiences. And I would say then the good times were, at the beginning, nobody knew what NFTs were, so we hid the word NFTs from consumers. But then came the NFT hype, and again, I can't say we didn't ride that hype. That helped us a lot. So these were like the good old days. But now, kind of like, I think the industry is maturing. It's kind of like getting out of its speculative phases, and that creates challenges, especially around growth, how to grow the ecosystem and not just stagnate. So this is where we're at right now, but we're up for the challenge, for sure.
Did you see that in terms of numbers, the bear market has impacted you a lot?
Absolutely, and I think like the biggest thing, and I don't know how many builders are in the crowd, who kind of like builds Web3 ecosystems? Okay, that's cool. So for those of you who've already launched, how many of you find it challenging to grow right now, to acquire new users? Exactly. So this is the main sticking point. It used to be the case, whatever, a year and a half ago, we could put $1 into marketing, into user acquisition, and it would pay back after 2 months and start making profits. No brainer. You have a magic box, you plow as much money as you can into it. Now, traditional user acquisition channels don't work anymore. And by the way, this is not just for the Web3 industry. This is like for the entire consumer gaming and mobile and what have you. So you have to find new avenues. You have to find new ways to grow. And this is the real challenge right now. It will shift back, but we, as builders, we need to figure out the boxes that can maintain themselves. But then when the markets turn again, that would just be additional lift. So you can't depend on the markets turning, right? You have to create your own reality.
Yes, definitely. Alvaro, on your website, you have the slogan, I have to read it. We're developing fun games for the players. Oh, the party is on. Bear with us for other 10 minutes. What is your stance on play to earn versus play and earn or play and own?
Yeah, I'm pretty much. I agree with Idan. I mean that's play to earn. It's a way of the bad old days. Right now, user acquisition is super difficult, and I think that one of the challenging parts, particularly for the Web3, is that the games has to be fun so that the people plays the game. The mentality that you get into a game to become rich, it's over and it won't come back again. So we are focused since day one to build a good experience, the best possible experience for the player, so that we will get enough amount of users to have the critical mass to then implement some technology, some blockchain technology that adds value to the player. So that's why we completely reject the term play to earn, because you play to have fun in a way. And then eventually you will earn something, but you won't ever play to earn anything besides having fun. So that's the whole idea of the standing.
Yeah, and I truly believe that this is the longer lasting one and the true gamer heart that is beating in your chest.
It's the only way to get the user, to get the player. Otherwise, I mean, you are not getting players, you are not getting users, you are getting investors.
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
very perverse.
Yeah. Idan, so you told me you're about to launch Sparklet, which is a new utility token within your ecosystem, and that allows creators to build in the metaverse. Can you walk us through the specifics, like what are the utilities, and also a little bit of comparison to UPX, your in-game currency?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, the Spark token has already been active inside of Upland for 2 years. So this is in Upland. We have two fungible currencies. One is called Apex. It's the value carrier. This is the way to exchange value in between players in the Upland ecosystem. And the other is Spark. This is a resource token that you use to build things. So either buildings on your properties, you can manufacture cars and carts, you can create outdoor decor. Anything that you want to build and create in Upland does require that token. So currently what we're doing right now, and again, this is based on the slightly changing regulatory environment in the US, which up until now has not allowed us to make our tokens tradable outside of Upland. Then we are basically taking Spark and making it through a bridge to Ethereum. We're making it tradable on centralized exchanges. And this is our current plans. And by the way, this ties back to what I mentioned about growth, how difficult it is to growth. One of the growth engines that we kind of like want to add on top of that is now having that type of visibility to the Web3 native ecosystem through a tradable token. So this is something we haven't been able to enjoy up until now because we are US based. But now things are changing. So this is very exciting for us. And in general, again, we've always envisioned Upland to be a platform for creators. So the way we do things is we introduce new features. So let's take, for example, cars and racing, right? Cars is an entire ecosystem in Upland. You can take your car and travel in between cities. You can race it against your friends in multiplayer racing games inside of Upland neighborhoods. And the way we do it, we first envision the technology, the utility. We demonstrate it to our community, but then we delegate that to our community and allow anybody to build their own UGC creations. So being their own car brands, racing karts, we encourage them to create speedways.
And building their own businesses.
Exactly, and we call them meta ventures.
Meta ventures
in Upland, yes.
So cool.
And we want we want to lower the barrier for players to become entrepreneurs in the metaverse. And this is how in Upland you actually create value. We mentioned play to earn or play and earn. For us, the earn element is basically taking a player that's having fun, but then they are going to connect with their communities and they are going to envision new ways they can create and bring value into Upland. And this is how they earn, not just by speculating or by trading. It's by creating value, creating that flywheel that the more players we have, the more meta entrepreneurs we have in the ecosystem, the more valuable it becomes to the entire ecosystem. And then finally, when we added on top of it our third-party developer platforms, which allows anybody to connect any of their offerings to Upland, expand it, recreate it, without having any constraints in an open economy, this is kind of like the mega creator platform that we're shooting for. And to tie it back, Sparklet is going to be the resource that basically powers that entire creation process.
Super cool. This is basically coming to the essence of what an NFT is bringing into that system.
100%. At the end of the day, NFT is the technology.
Yeah, yeah.
Like don't get thrown away with all the bad press, with all the things we had in the past.
The scams.
Exactly. The technology is good. It's valuable to humanity.
Yeah.
It will be valuable.
Yes, yes. Alvaro, so we have a couple of minutes left. You have launched your first Web3 game, or it's about to launch. If I
it's already launched,
okay.
But still no Web3 features. We are in the process to just create the game, and with the team, with all my esports team and all the network of influencers we have around, I mean, with over 35 million followers, we have a really good positioning in Spanish-speaking markets for mobile gaming. So we are acting as the esports org, as the publisher of the game. So giving the first shot to the game, getting metrics from real users with a couple of thousands of them, and everybody can download the game. The Web3 part will come after we validate the game is fun, after the game is working on Web2, then we won't invent anything. I mean, people who spend time playing games, they do care about their accounts, they do care about the skins they bought, they care about the ownership of all the progress they made in the game. So, yeah, I mean, the word NFT had a super bad reputation right now, but it's just digital property. And in the future, our strategy long-term idea is to release more games with the same IP, interconnected in between all the ecosystem of the games, so that if you unlock certain characters, certain heroes in our first game, and then we release a second game with different gender, for example, a fighting game and then a shooter or whatever it is, then if you want to convert your progress into some kind of digital assets, then we will be able to give you some progress on the new games. And for us, it will be a marketing tool, and for the users, it will be a value because they will have something in return for being active, an active player of our games for so long. So yeah, I prefer the naming of digital property. I mean, it's also the same. The technology is in place and it's validated. It's just a matter of wording right now.
I like the approach very much. Really cool. Idan, just quickly, I read that you have recently partnered with FIFA and NFL Players Association. What is the experience from a user perspective when I go to Upland? How can I experience that in the Upland ecosystem?
Yeah, so with these partnerships, and these are two out of many that we've had. It's based at the end of the day on NFTs that are collectibles, but it always comes with utility and gamification. So, for example, with FIFA World Cup, you could own Messi's last goal of his World Cup career as an NFT in Upland. And by the way, currently it's the only place in the world where you have these types of NFTs. But you couldn't just buy it. You couldn't just mint it. You had to play. So it was like a Panini. Do you guys know Panini, obviously, with football? So it's like, imagine like a Panini on steroids, right? So instead of cards, you have 3D items that are official FIFA license, and you have to collect them. First of all, you have to trade with your peers. You have to complete collections. You have to build up your fan score. And then you have exchange mechanism. And at the end of the day, the top of the pyramid, you get a shot to basically get those top of the, top of the value collectibles, such as the actual goals from the World Cup. I'll give you another example. We have another ecosystem which we just recently launched. It's called Stock Car Pro Series. It's the Brazilian version of NASCAR racing. If you know, it's kind of like stock cars.
Cool.
So this is an ecosystem where, again, you have these collectibles which are driver suits and helmets, right? But you also have the cars. You also have the actual racetracks in the real world. And you have to race in order to compete for the grand prizes. So it's not just about getting the NFT and trading it. It's way beyond. It's creating utility and fun and engagement. And suddenly, you know what? There are, these cafes spawn when people go together to have watch parties as the race is going, and everybody's coming in their driver suits and the wearables.
Super
so
cool.
These are the ecosystems we are shooting for. Yeah. It's an evolving world, and we're happy kind of like to be part of the companies that are spearheading it. But at the end of the day, when I look at my kids today, when they meet their friends not in person, they meet them in gaming platforms. So my young ones will meet them in Roblox. My older one would meet them in either GTA or Fortnite or whatever. But to them, it's native. And when they grow up, then they are going to be relying on platforms such as Upland to basically experience the immersive web. The web is not going to stay 2D as it is today. Yeah. The web will evolve into an immersive version. And our kids, it's enough to watch them how they interact today to be convinced that this is how things will happen in the future.
We have time for one last question, I hope, because I think this is super cool for the audience as well to know what you, as the experts and being in that space for such a long time. It's a question to both of you. What is your advice for entrepreneurs or developers that want to, get a foot in that industry of gaming and even Web3 gaming, very briefly?
I mean, for me, super quick and obvious advice, which is that, Web3 gaming, it's gaming after all, so just build games or build gaming platforms that are good. Easy to say, difficult to implement, but it is what it is. I think that all the confusion that we've had with Web3 is just some confusion and reminders of the bad times, and it's all about making good stuff. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think it probably is different of whether or not you have access to funding or you don't. And I would assume for a second that most companies that start up, they don't have access to significant funds. In which case, my advice would be, the first thing you do, build your community. Even if it's just an idea, even if it's just like videos, get out there, establish a community, even if it's like dozens of people. But if you start from there, and if you take guide, like first of all, recruit the first people who are passionate about what you're going to do, and then follow their lead, actually. Be integrated them. I think one of the best things that we did in Upland 5 years ago, our very first hire was a community manager. And,
Cool, yeah.
and this is such a stark difference. My previous experience was with casual games, with social casino. And back then, we were so disconnected from our community, and this experience is so much different. And you don't underestimate the value of what your community can offer you to guide you in this journey that you're about to embark on. So that would be my advice.
It was very, very valuable. Thank you so much. We're at the end of our 20 minutes. That went very fast. Thank you, Idan. Thank you, Alvaro, for a great panel, great conversation, and to the audience for listening in. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.